What happens when one of the most anticipated morning television interviews turns into an absolute disaster that nobody saw coming? In just 36 seconds, a seemingly innocent question transforms into the most explosive on-air meltdown in daytime television history. This is the story of how a routine interview became a complete catastrophe. Savannah Guthrie sat in her chair that morning, ready to conduct what everyone expected would be a straightforward conversation. The studio lights were warm, the cameras were rolling, and millions of viewers had tuned in across the country. This was supposed to be a simple discussion about charity work and upcoming projects. Nobody could have predicted what was about to unfold. Meghan Markle walked onto the set with confidence, settling into the guest chair across from Savannah. The two women exchanged pleasantries as the segment began, smiles on both their faces for the cameras. Everything seemed perfectly normal at first. Savannah opened with a gentle question about recent philanthropic efforts. "Thank you so much for being here with us this morning. I know our viewers are excited to hear about the wonderful work you've been doing. Can you tell us about your latest charity initiative?" Meghan shifted in her seat, her expression changing subtly. "Well, Savannah, I think the more important question is why the media constantly focuses on what I'm doing instead of the systemic issues I'm trying to address." Savannah maintained her professional composure, nodding thoughtfully. "Of course, and we definitely want to talk about those issues. That's exactly why we invited you here today. Perhaps you could walk us through what those specific issues are?" "I don't think you really want to talk about them, though," Meghan responded, her tone sharpening. "This is what always happens. The media pretends to care, but then they twist everything I say." The studio suddenly felt tense. Savannah kept her voice calm and measured. "I can assure you, we're here to have an honest conversation. Our viewers want to hear directly from you, in your own words. That's the whole purpose of this interview." Meghan leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms. "That's what they all say. But then the headlines come out, and it's always the same story. Always trying to make me look bad." Savannah took a breath, clearly trying to steer things back on track. "I understand you've had difficult experiences with media coverage. Many public figures do. But we'd love to focus on the positive impact you're making. The work you're doing is reaching so many people. Can we talk about that?" "You see, this is exactly the problem," Meghan said, her voice rising slightly. "You're trying to control the narrative. You're trying to tell me what we should talk about." The camera operators glanced at each other nervously. This was not going according to plan. Savannah remained patient, her professional training evident. "I'm not trying to control anything. I'm simply trying to have a conversation. You're our guest, and we value what you have to say. What would you like to discuss?" "What I'd like is for people to stop pretending they understand what I've been through," Meghan replied. "Sitting here in your comfortable studio, asking your comfortable questions. You have no idea what it's like." Savannah's expression showed a flicker of surprise, but she maintained her composure. "You're absolutely right that I haven't walked in your shoes. That's why we're having this conversation, so you can share your perspective. Help our viewers understand." Meghan stood up abruptly, still wearing her microphone. "This is pointless. This is exactly what I was talking about. Nobody actually listens." The production team froze, unsure what to do. Live television was unfolding in real time, and nobody had a script for this. Savannah stood as well, her voice still calm but firm. "I am listening. Everyone watching is listening. But this is a two-way conversation. If you'd like to sit back down, we can continue talking about whatever you'd like to address." "A two-way conversation?" Meghan laughed bitterly. "That's rich. You invite me here with your list of approved questions, and you call it a two-way conversation?" Savannah took a measured pause before responding. "We provided topics we hope to cover, yes. That's standard for any interview, but you're free to discuss whatever matters to you. That's why you're here." "I'm here because your producers begged my team for weeks," Meghan shot back. "And now I see why I should have said no from the beginning." The studio audience, initially excited to see this interview, sat in stunned silence. This was not the uplifting morning show content they had expected. Savannah maintained her professional demeanor despite the escalating situation. "I'm sorry you feel that way. Our intention was genuinely to provide you with a platform to speak about the causes you care about. If we've somehow miscommunicated that, I apologize." "There you go again," Meghan said, pointing at Savannah. "Apologizing for things you don't mean. That's so typical. Say whatever sounds good for the camera." Savannah's patience was being tested, but she refused to take the bait. "I do mean it. I'm apologizing because you clearly feel uncomfortable, and that was never our intention. We invited you here in good faith." Good faith? Meghan's voice grew louder. "Don't talk to me about good faith. The media has destroyed my reputation, twisted my words, and made my life unbearable. And now you want to sit here and lecture me about good faith?" The camera crew continued filming, knowing this was television history in the making, even if it was a complete disaster. Savannah spoke carefully, choosing each word with precision. "I'm not lecturing you. I'm trying to understand your concerns. If you feel the media has treated you unfairly, this is your opportunity to set the record straight. That's what we're offering you." "I don't need you to offer me anything," Meghan snapped. "I don't need your platform. I don't need your fake sympathy. I certainly don't need to sit here and be patronized by someone who thinks reading off a teleprompter makes them a journalist." The insult hung in the air like a bomb. Savannah's expression remained composed, but her jaw tightened slightly. "I've been a journalist for over 20 years, Savannah said quietly. "I've covered wars, natural disasters, elections, and countless human interest stories. I take my profession seriously, and I treat every guest with respect. I'm asking for that same respect in return." Meghan waved her hand dismissively. "Respect? You want to talk about respect? How about the respect I deserved when your network ran stories about me without checking facts? How about the respect I deserved when headlines attacked everything from my clothes to my family?" Savannah's voice remained steady. "I can't speak to every story every outlet has run. I can only speak to this conversation right now between you and me, and I'm trying my best to be respectful and fair." "Your best isn't good enough," Meghan declared. "None of this is good enough. This whole system is broken, and you're all part of it." The producers in the control room were frantically deciding whether to cut to commercial. This was spiraling completely out of control. Savannah took a deep breath. "If you feel that strongly, then help us understand what would be better. What would meaningful coverage look like to you? What questions should we be asking?" "You still don't get it," Meghan said, shaking her head. "I'm not here to teach you how to do your job. I'm not here to fix journalism. I'm not even sure why I'm here at all anymore." Savannah glanced briefly at the camera before returning her attention to her guest. "You're here because we hope to have a productive conversation. That offer still stands. Please, sit back down. Let's start over." Meghan remained standing, her arms still crossed. "Start over? So you can ask me more surface-level questions while pretending to care? So your viewers can watch and feel like they know me? No, thank you. I'm genuinely trying to give you space to share your truth," Savannah insisted. "That's all I've wanted from the beginning of this segment. Your truth, your words, your perspective. My truth?" Meghan's laugh was sharp and bitter. "You wouldn't know what to do with my truth. You'd edit it, spin it, turn it into clickbait. That's what always happens." Savannah's professionalism was being pushed to its absolute limit, but she held firm. "We're live right now. There's no editing, there's no spin. Whatever you say goes directly to our audience, unfiltered. That's the beauty of live television. The beauty of live television," Meghan repeated mockingly. "Is that what you call this? This ambush? This is not an ambush," Savannah said firmly. "An ambush would be surprising you with gotcha questions or attacks. I've done nothing but try to create space for dialogue." Meghan's expression hardened. "You and everyone like you are the problem. You sit there with your perfect hair and your perfect smile, pretending to be someone's friend, and then you stab them in the back the moment the camera stops rolling." Savannah stood a little straighter, her voice calm but strong. "I have never stabbed anyone in the back. I report the news fairly and accurately. I interview guests with professionalism and integrity, and I certainly don't deserve to be spoken to this way." "Oh, here we go," Meghan said, rolling her eyes. "Now you're the victim. Classic move. I come here trying to have a real conversation, and somehow I'm the bad guy." "Nobody said you're the bad guy," Savannah replied. "But you've been hostile since we started. I've tried to accommodate your concerns. I've tried to redirect the conversation. I've tried to be understanding. At some point, there has to be mutual respect." Meghan took a step closer to Savannah's desk. "Mutual respect? That's hilarious coming from someone who works for a network that has published hundreds of negative stories about me. Where was the mutual respect then?" Savannah didn't back down. "I don't write the stories. I don't control what other journalists report. I can only control how I conduct myself, and I'm trying to be fair to you right now, in this moment." "Fair?" Meghan's voice dripped with sarcasm. You don't even know the meaning of the word. None of you do. You're all just part of the same machine, grinding people down for ratings. The tension in the studio was suffocating. Every person present could feel the situation deteriorating with each passing second. Savannah spoke with measured conviction. "I'm sorry you feel that way. Truly, I am. But I can't continue this conversation if you're going to insult me and question my integrity. I've treated you with nothing but courtesy." "Courtesy?" Meghan shot back. "Is that what this is? Inviting me here just to make yourself look good? Just to boost your ratings? That's not courtesy. That's exploitation." Savannah's expression finally showed a hint of frustration. "You agreed to come here. Your team reached out to us. We didn't force you to walk onto this set. You chose to be here. And now I'm choosing to leave," Meghan announced. "Because this is exactly the toxic environment I was trying to get away from. You people never change." She reached up and unclipped her microphone, the sound echoing through the studio speakers. Savannah made one last attempt. "Please don't leave like this. We can take a break, regroup, and come back with a fresh start. You came here to talk about important issues. Don't let this moment derail that message." Meghan dropped the microphone onto the guest chair. "My message is perfectly clear. The media is broken, and you're all complicit. I'm done being part of this circus. I respect your right to leave," Savannah said, her voice steady despite the chaos. "But I want to be very clear for our viewers. We invited you here in good faith. We prepared thoughtful questions about your work. We gave you every opportunity to share your perspective. What happened here today was your choice." Meghan turned back, her eyes flashing. "My choice? You're already spinning this, aren't you? Already figuring out how to make me look bad. Well, guess what? I don't care anymore. Say whatever you want. You will anyway." "I'm not spinning anything," Savannah replied firmly. "I'm stating facts. This was meant to be a positive conversation, and it didn't go that way. Our viewers just watched everything unfold. They can make their own judgments." "Of course they can," Meghan said coldly. "And you'll help guide those judgments with your commentary and your facial expressions and your carefully chosen words. That's how this works." Savannah remained calm, refusing to be baited further. "I'm simply going to report what happened. Nothing more, nothing less." Meghan laughed again, that same bitter sound. "Sure you will. I'll be sure to tune in later to see how you describe this. I'm sure it'll be very fair and balanced." She turned toward the exit, her heels clicking against the studio floor. Savannah called after her. "The door is always open if you change your mind. We'd be happy to have you back for a real conversation." Meghan paused at the studio door, looking back one final time. "A real conversation? With people like you? That's impossible. You don't want real conversations. You want sound bites and drama and controversies. Well, congratulations. You got your drama." And with that, she walked out of the studio, leaving Savannah standing alone on set. The camera still rolling, capturing every moment of the unprecedented exit. Savannah took a moment to collect herself, smoothing her blazer and returning to her chair. She looked directly into the camera, her professionalism never wavering despite what had just transpired. "Well," she said, her voice remarkably steady, "that clearly didn't go as planned. We had hoped to have a meaningful discussion about important charitable work and the challenges of public life. Unfortunately, as you all just witnessed, the conversation took a different turn." She paused, choosing her next words carefully. "I want to be clear about something. We invited our guest here with the best of intentions. Our questions were prepared with respect and genuine curiosity. We wanted to provide a platform for her voice. What you saw was exactly what happened. We didn't edit it. We didn't manipulate it. This was live television at its most raw and unfiltered." Savannah's expression showed a mix of disappointment and resolve. As journalists, we sometimes encounter difficult situations. We do our best to navigate them with grace and professionalism. I believe I did that today. I remained respectful even when I was being personally attacked. I offered multiple opportunities to redirect the conversation. I tried to create space for dialogue. She took a breath before continuing. "Sometimes, despite our best efforts, things don't work out the way we hope. That's okay. That's real life. What matters is that we conduct ourselves with integrity, that we treat people fairly, and that we're honest with our audience about what unfolds." The studio crew remained silent, allowing Savannah to finish her thoughts. "I stand behind everything I said during that segment. I stand behind the questions we prepared. I stand behind the way I conducted myself, and I want to thank our viewers for sticking with us through that very unexpected moment." Savannah glanced down at her notes, then back up at the camera. Live television can be unpredictable. Sometimes it's magical. Sometimes it's messy. Today, it was messy, but it was authentic, and I think there's value in that authenticity. You saw exactly what happened, without any filter or editing. Her voice took on a slightly softer tone. I genuinely wish things had gone differently. I wish we'd had the opportunity to discuss the charitable work and the important issues that were supposed to be the focus of this segment. I wish our guests had felt comfortable enough to have that conversation. But for whatever reason, that wasn't possible today. Savannah straightened her papers on the desk. We'll continue with the rest of our show as planned. We have some wonderful segments coming up, and I hope you'll stay with us. Thank you for understanding, and thank you for being part of this moment with us, however uncomfortable it may have been. She maintained her composure perfectly, a true professional handling an impossible situation with dignity and grace. The camera slowly pulled back, showing the empty guest chair, the discarded microphone, and Savannah sitting alone at the desk, ready to move forward with the rest of the broadcast. Behind the scenes, the production team was in shock. Nobody had ever seen anything quite like this before. Phone calls were already being made to network executives. Social media was exploding with reactions. News outlets were preparing their coverage of what had just happened. But on camera, Savannah simply transitioned to the next segment, her voice steady, her professionalism intact. She had weathered the storm, maintaining her dignity even when faced with unexpected hostility and personal attacks. The empty chair across from her told the whole story. An interview that should have been straightforward had instead become one of the most dramatic moments in morning television history. And through it all, Savannah had remained composed, respectful, and professional. She had done her job exactly as it should be done, even when her guest had chosen a completely different path. That contrast spoke volumes about who handled the situation with grace and who did not. The studio lights continued to shine, the cameras continued to roll, and the show went on. Because that's what professionals do. They handle the unexpected with poise. They don't lash out. They don't make personal attacks. They simply do their job to the best of their ability, no matter what challenges arise. Savannah had proven exactly that. In the face of hostility, she had remained kind. In the face of insults, she had remained professional. In the face of chaos, she had remained calm. The contrast between the two women in that moment couldn't have been clearer. One had come prepared for a conversation and had tried repeatedly to salvage the situation. The other had arrived with grievances and had chosen confrontation over communication. As the segment ended and the show moved forward, one thing was absolutely certain. This was a moment that would be replayed and discussed for years to come, not because of what was said about charity or public service, but because of how drastically an interview can fall apart when one person refuses to engage in good faith. Savannah had offered every possible olive branch. She had been patient, understanding, and accommodating. She had tried to redirect, to start fresh, to create space for meaningful dialogue. Every attempt had been met with hostility. In the end, viewers had witnessed not just a failed interview, but a masterclass in how to maintain professionalism under pressure. Savannah had shown exactly how a journalist should behave when faced with an impossible situation. With grace, with dignity, and with unwavering integrity, the empty chair remained a powerful symbol, a reminder that sometimes, no matter how hard you try, no matter how professional you are, some conversations simply cannot happen. And when that's the case, all you can do is handle yourself with class and move forward. That's exactly what Savannah did. She handled an unprecedented situation with remarkable composure, never once stooping to the level of the personal attacks directed at her. She took the high road every single time. And that made all the difference.